Have you ever stopped to think about the invisible rules that literally run our modern world? I'm talking about your phone, Wi-Fi, the GPS in your car. It all comes down to a set of just four beautifully simple equations from the 1800s. Let's dive into what they are and why they are so important.
I mean, really think about it for a second. There aren't any wires connecting a satellite to your phone or a radio tower to your car. A signal just travels through the nothingness of empty space. How? For the longest time, this was a massive puzzle for physicists.
Well, the answer turned out to be hiding in the connection between two forces that, at the time, seemed to have very little to do with each other: electricity and magnetism. And the story of how they were finally united is one of the greatest aha moments in the entire history of science. To really appreciate just how huge this breakthrough was, you have to picture what the world of physics looked like before James Clerk Maxwell came along. We knew about electricity, sure, and we definitely knew about magnetism, but how they truly connected, that was still a big mystery.
So on one side, you had electricity, static cling, lightning, currents in a wire. And on the other side, you had magnetism, the strange, invisible force that makes compasses point north and lets magnets stick to your fridge. Scientists understood that both of these forces worked through what they called a field, sort of an invisible zone of influence. But they were treated as two completely separate things, each with its own set of laws.
And this is where Maxwell's genius just comes onto the stage. He took all the bits and pieces of knowledge that existed and managed to boil it all down into four incredibly powerful statements. Now, don't think of them as scary math equations. Just think of them as the four fundamental rules of the game for how electricity and magnetism act, and more importantly, how they interact with each other.
All right, rule number one is pretty straightforward. It basically just says that electric fields start on positive charges and end on negative charges. They have a definite beginning and a definite end. Simple enough, right?
Now, rule number two shows us where these two forces start to differ in a really big way. Unlike electric fields, magnetic field lines don't start or end anywhere. They always form complete closed loops. This is the reason you can't have a magnet with just a north pole. If you snap a bar magnet in half, you don't get a separate north and south. You just get two smaller magnets, each with its own north and south.
Okay, here's where things start to get really interesting and dynamic. Rule 3, which we call Faraday's law, gives us the first piece of the dance between these two forces. It says that a changing magnetic field will actually create an electric field, and that word changing is the key. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's the principle behind every single power plant generating electricity for our homes.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of this entire puzzle. Scientists already knew that an electric current, moving charges, creates a magnetic field around it. But Maxwell added a revolutionary new idea. He proposed that a changing electric field could do the exact same thing, even in a total vacuum. This was the missing link. This was the game changer.
So with all four of these rules laid out, Maxwell was able to ask a question that would lead to a prediction so profound, so absolutely earth-shattering, it would change our world forever.
He asked, what happens if you let these four rules play out together in the middle of empty space, far away from any electrical charges or wires? What would happen then? The answer was mind-blow.
It turns out they create a kind of beautiful cosmic dance. Let's walk through it. Say you have a changing magnetic field. Well, Rule 3 says that creates a new electric field. But wait, according to Maxwell's new part of Rule 4, that changing electric field has to create another magnetic field, which in turn creates another electric field, and you see where this is going. It's a chain reaction. A perpetual, self-sustaining wave that can travel through empty space forever, all by itself.
But Maxwell didn't just stop there. Being a brilliant mathematician, he decided to calculate the theoretical speed of this new wave. He used the numbers and constants that scientists had already measured from experiments with electricity and magnetism. And the number he calculated was this, just shy of 300 million meters per second.
And here it is, the big one. That number he calculated wasn't just some random speed. It was a speed scientists already knew very, very well. It was the measured speed of light. The conclusion was undeniable. Light itself is an electromagnetic wave. With a few lines of math, Maxwell had solved one of the oldest mysteries in science and pulled off one of the greatest unifications in history.
It is honestly impossible to overstate the impact of this discovery. He didn't just explain what light is, he literally laid the theoretical groundwork for the next 150 years of technology.
To put it as simply as possible, before Maxwell, physics had three separate subjects: electricity, magnetism, and optics, the study of light. After Maxwell, as you can see here, there was just one: electromagnetism. He proved they were all just different faces of the exact same fundamental force of nature.
And that's not just a cool historical fact. Every single technology on this list is a direct result of understanding these four equations. Radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, GPS, your cell phone, they are all just different kinds of electromagnetic waves behaving exactly the way Maxwell predicted they would. His 19th century theory is quite literally the instruction manual for our 21st century world.
So Maxwell took electricity, magnetism, and light and wove them together into a single beautiful theory. Today, physicists are still chasing that same dream, trying to find the theory of everything that unifies electromagnetism with the other forces of nature. And it leaves us with a pretty exciting question. What will be the next great unification that once again changes everything we think we know?